I think everybody's in a push at this point, right? Even the material vendors are kind of pushing the envelope to create newer and newer products. Similarly, as architects, we want to explore newer products in our projects. And with consultants like Vicky, we always try to see what best we can get in the project. And in terms of material, in terms of detailing, in terms of the right specification, which we can kind of really, get on the project. And I think the push is more towards getting that finesse in the project. And I think that is in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency, in terms of aesthetics. So the push is required, and yeah, I think that is an attitude.
Life becomes boring if there is no push from the clients and the architects. We also want to innovate ourselves at V3 Facade Design Studio. We keep encouraging our team to push beyond their limits, to think out of the box, and try to give us. It is very easy to create a complex design. It is very difficult to give a simple solution to those complex designs. So that is where architects like Gaurav and team pushes us hard to those extreme limits so that we think beyond the conventional practices and try to innovate something with a very cost effective manner and sufficing all the aesthetical intents what they have been dreaming of. In cities like Mumbai, we do not have lot of horizontal spaces available. The buildings are growing taller. The moment the buildings are growing taller and every building is very close in the proximity, so you have good tunnel effect, you have good wind gusts coming in those areas. So when you go higher, the wind pressure are going to increase and they're going to further increase over the years of next 50 years life cycle. So honeycomb helps us to create lighter panels with more stiffness and more stability. So that's where we see the future where honeycomb can be used as a very appropriate material, especially for the high-rise projects.
So I think, yeah, if you even you see Bombay is going ultra high rise, right? So even at my studio, Pentaspace, we're designing 70 stories, 100 stories. So we have to kind of have a material which can sustain that kind of wind loads, weatherproofing. So I think materials will kind of sustain, like honeycomb materials will kind of start coming into the mainframe more and more, because there's no other way than going vertical at this point.
See, what happens is you have best of the materials manufactured in best of the world class facilities, what you have. But if the applicator, if the executor is not having proper tools to form the proper panels, to form the proper terminations, and then you have penetrations of moisture coming through those areas and delamination happening. So these things, if the applicators are also trained properly by the companies, Aludecor is one of the pioneers and the leading companies of metal panels. So companies like you take an initiative and train the applicators, or you have your batch of certified applicators, zone wise, city wise. At Mumbai, you have 5 applicators. Pune, you have 200 applicators. This will help us to further promote and have a good project.
So I think that is where the project is, the make and break is the application. It's not the material per se. Material is one part of it, but the application is which kind of really makes or breaks the project. So I think that is a little gap where if Aludecor can kind of come in and stitch that, there will be much more traction. I don't see that as that much of a challenge at this point, because the real estate has reached a certain level where the customer itself is very sensitive to ask for that kind of a specification, because he's investing heavily into a commercial or a residential property, right? So he wants to be very, very clear in terms of what he's getting in return. So I think, and even the developers are kind of branding their projects, stating these things, right? So kind of making sure that there is a balance of what, I'm expecting and what I'm getting. This gets a little skewed in the tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities, is because there is an aspirational quotient, and you are kind of specifying, or you're not actually specifying the. I think a lot of these contractors themselves are kind of getting materials which are more lookalike materials or not certified materials, and that actually kind of creates the challenge, frankly speaking. So I think the Me Too products, the lookalike products, which have not gone through those cycles, those checks, create this kind of kind of a hazard, I would say. So that's my take on it.
Life, the value of a life of a person, whether that person belongs to a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 city, remains the same everywhere. It is invaluable. Also, I remember one of my discussions with a client on a project from tier 2 city. That client asked me, Vicky, what is the cost difference if I go with an FR grade or non FR grade ACP? I said the cost difference is at least one human life. It cannot be quantified or it cannot be tangified in terms of rupees or amount. We are happy that architects are becoming very sensitive. They themselves, before even a consultant is appointed, when they are creating a concept for the client, they say it has to be class A, fire rated class ACP or metal panel. I would further say that if you're looking for a building which is taller in height, then we should upgrade from the basic class B, which normally goes. Beyond that, we should be going for class A2 because considering the traffic what we have, considering the access challenges what we have on high-rise buildings, class A2 is most appropriate beyond a certain height. For a building which are say 10, 12 stories, class B should suffice as a basic requirement. But as we go taller, probably pioneers like Aludecor, they can talk to the local authorities and make them aware. And if they push it in their mandates that beyond a certain height, the panel has to be class 18. Then this uplifts the entire industry to a more safer facade, which is going to be standing there for like 30, 40 years. Minimum is EN 13501, BS 476. There are also DIN standards. So S1D0, Class B. So these are the basic bunch of certification what we ask for. Beyond that, we also specify that the weight of the panel has to be minimum 7.2 kg per square meter, 7.6 kg per square meter. The next generation is coming into business. We were also talking about it some time back. Now the second generation is getting education from the abroad, from the top institutes of architecture. They're also aware of the practices which are happening internationally. So when the second minister comes into the decision making authority on the decision making chair, it becomes easy for us to sell out an idea which is more fire safe and more human friendly.
It just gives us more confidence, right, in using Aludecor as a product, because I think you guys are pioneers in a lot of ways, right? So I think the industry should have a front runner, and then you kind of look up to it, and then you kind of upgrade yourselves to that point, and it's a valid, I think, valid initiative. I think it's very interesting. Honestly, I think I like the new finishes. The other aspect of Aludecor which I really enjoy is that they customize a lot of finishes also. So there is something which if I want a specific look and feel in a part of the building, I think they really kind of put energy to create that, and that is something very exciting for an architect.
We all are talking about creating a green building, which is again into vogue that people are going for IGBC, Griha, ECBC, LEED certificates. And when we talk about this, it is not only about using a high performance glass. These louvers also help us to create some shading effect, which gives improvises the shading coefficient of the glass. So it helps to give those shades to the glass. And architects are very well planning nowadays the building in such a way that the southeast, southwest facades are more of dead walls or more of the service part coming in, and the glasses are more towards north and northeast area. So that also elevates the entire architecture. Louvers find its application in shading. They can find its application in the podium car park where we need more of air circulation happening. We cannot pack it up also on the entire perimeter. So yes, they can be alternative. And one of the biggest advantages, we can go deeper in sizes, which currently in India we have a constraint for the depth of the extrusions. So these lures find a specific or an advantage over extrusion. When we go deeper in sizes, we can have longer fins made in India, not imported from outside.
We keep asking the same question again and again in every project. Is that what is the new material which has come in? What is the new detail which you are working on? What is you're doing something? What is the interesting thing which you're doing? Because see, what happens is that everybody is in their own shell, right?
Right.
Like I'm in my shell, he's in his shell, and we kind of working on a day-to-day basis in what we do. But as soon as we kind of interact as with consultants, I think the first thing I personally want is their input on what is happening, right? So even if I'm talking to my MEP consultant, I'm saying what is interesting, what is new in AC, what is new in plumbing. So the idea is to kind of learn because I cannot learn everything, right? But I can ask people and get educated about it. So I think Vicky, I always, if you ask me, even when he entered this exhibition, I think ZAK, first of all, it's a brilliant exhibition which they've kind of put up. And the first thing I asked him, you can ask him what I said, what is new, Vicky? What do you want me to see? So it is, I think that is something which always is what I asked him.
And what did you say? So we have a lot of now. This is a big event where you get glass, you get windows, you get cladding materials, you get roofing materials, everything under one roof.
Yes.
So it is difficult to tell him that these 4 5 stalls. We'll just take a stroll and we'll find many things
Yes.
which are going to come.
Which we look forward to now.
Yes. Now, many times what happens is our thoughts are limited to the information what we have. The moment they see new things coming in, the new things are available in the Indian market, they can stretch beyond the architectural language what they have been doing. And currently, we are working with them for 4 5 projects, and none of the projects are going to be straight rectangle with Pentaspace. That's for sure. And any question you'd like to ask him? You haven't given to ask for possible. uh, uh, my I'll be thankful to the team for giving us challenging jobs, for giving us opportunity to go beyond the unconventional practices. Yes. And it's just that, I mean, I do not have any questions for him as such because he's the one who questions me, and we have to be on the other side of the table answering the questions.
I think it's a amazing platform. There are so many materials, right? And one kind of an app, if it kind of gives me a neutral feedback, I think it's just amazing. I would say it's a great initiative by Aludecor. It is just not promoting or putting its products out there, but it's giving a comparative and giving the entire range of facade products. I think it's just brilliant. If they can just kind of grow this organically more, I think it'll be a great help to architects like us. Yeah.
Today's trend is more about data. How much data you have, you can make more business out of it. The best part of Metany is it's neutral. It's giving a neutral opinion on all the materials, and everything having on your fingertips make it more accessible, makes it more usable. Now the biggest problem in information is having less information is less painful than having misinformation. Suppose I type on Google, what are the advantages of coffee? I'll have 15 different points. I start drinking coffee the next moment. If I type what are the drawbacks of having coffee, I stop drinking forever. So it also depends what kind of question you're asking. So we expect that MedGenie, whenever we ask any questions, that app should think from all perspective, pros and cons, and give and provide information to the end user, so that a conscious decision can be made.
It would. I think there's anything which is, transparent, I think will always help the industry.
Like I said last some time back, that FR core cannot be only defined by having that white color of the mineral core. So if we have a manufacturer which has a NABL certified laboratory in house,
Yes.
and they are willing openly accepting the competitors or third party without knowing the brand, they are willing to give us the testing report in a very neutral perspective. We'll be
It's amazing.
happy. We'll be happy because it so happens that if I draft a drawing, I might not be able to find out my mistakes. But if the same drawing is being checked by my peer or by my colleague, he can
Peer
find 10
reviewer,
different,
yes.
10 different mistakes. So now there can be two things. One is learning for the competitor, or if there's any cost cutting which has happened in the process, that can be caught. So answering your question, it is going to be a big advantage to us if
Yes.
if we are able to test third party or competitor or any company's material without labeling it, because that is something which we need a confidentiality between the tester and the uh, uh, test applicator.